want to introduce my team. My team consists of Serena Norman. She is my front-end setup person. Terrell Palmason, he is what I call my doc dog. He will chase down all the docs from all my borrowers and make sure that we're getting ready to submit into processing. And then Caitlin Ellison is my marketing guru. She keeps me, she does magic things. She just sprinkles magic dust and makes it happen. So I'm very, very fortunate to have the team that I do. The next thing that I want to talk about is what are we doing and why are we doing it? So the original intention with the meeting was to do a face-to-face meeting in the Lacey area. And of course, COVID virus kind of blew that out of the water. So it's at least temporary. Once we're at a point where we can all meet again, I'm definitely going to do face-to-face meetings as well. But depending on how well this goes, I might do a combination of face-to-face and virtual meetings. And this is just I just love real estate investing. It's so creative. There's a lot of things that you can do. There's so many people that have unbelievable ideas that I learned so much just going to these meetings. And even though I've been in it for 25 years, trust me, I learn a ton. So that works out great. And so that was the kind of the natural progression of why we wanted to do this meeting. So real quick, the rest of the agenda, I'm going to introduce the team right after this. Then we're going to do a roundtable. Everybody, one at a time, will unmute their microphone and tell what you do and the things that you are looking to do in the future. And then tell your job title and let us know if you want to be added to the directory, and we'll get your information over in the chat section. And then we will be getting that out by Friday, I believe. And then if we're going to have a topic for the meeting, this meeting, we may or may not have a topic. We'll just kind of whatever everybody wants to talk about, because it's a smaller group. We can do that. I can talk about lending, but I could probably drive you crazy talking about lending too darn much. So, and then we're going to have Q&A afterwards, and then I'm going to ask for suggestions on future topics for future meetings. What are the things that you guys want to hear? And then I'll let you know when the next meeting is, and then we're going to wrap up from there. So with that, Serena, would you like to unmute and introduce yourself?
Everybody, my name's Serena Norman, and I've been working with Kevin for about 9 months now. As he said, I'm the front end setup. So actually by day, I'm a school teacher. So I'm feeling the stress of all of this COVID-19. And then by evening, I'm a loan assistant. So I've done the part of collecting all the documents. I did that for a few months, and then Kevin nice and graciously promoted me up to being able to set up all your loans. So once a loan application has been done and you've submitted in, I do the part of setting it up with the correct loan program that you're going to be going into. And once I get all that set up done, then you receive initial email from me, which states all the documents that are going to be needed for your loan. And then I'm also still available for questions with any loan documents that you may have. And then once I get all my stuff sent out to you, then I pass you on to Terrell, which Terrell is going to be the one going to be mostly contacting you for your loan documents.
And how you've been in the banking industry for a while. Can you give us a background on that?
Yes. So I have been working for a bank for 15 years since I graduated from high school. So I do have banking background knowledge. And once I got hired on as a teacher, the bank that I worked for, because I worked for them for at least 10 years, they allowed me to come back and work during the summers. So I do have a lot of the banking background knowledge if you have questions, which I have also found has been very helpful with understanding the process of a loan and all the different little things. And Kevin and I have had a nice conversation about structuring, because banking world structuring is bad, but in loan world structuring is really good, and it kind of is dependent on that. So it's been very interesting to learn from Kevin.
Yeah, the first time we had that conversation, her eyes popped wide open and she's like, "That's bad." I'm like, "No, you cannot do loans if you don't structure them properly." So it's funny. The differences on both sides of the fence is what happens. So, hey, Terrell, do you want to unmute and introduce yourself?
Terrell, loan assistant for Kevin for 4 months. He calls me the doc dog. I just kind of do the grunt work of the loan, just going around and collecting everything and making sure we're all good to submit to processing. I've never done anything until I came here, and it's been a lot to learn. It's still learning a lot more.
I'm pretty amazed that all 3 of my employees have just taken to this like a sponge. They soak up the information, and you get to a point where you walk them through something once or twice, and that's it. They've got it. And what's amazing is there's a lot of details that goes into individual loans. And so, it's a lot to learn, but these guys have really, really helped my workflow, and I'm just very thankful for them. So, Caitlin, how about you? Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm sure you see me a lot on the social media because that's what I do. I'm the marketing. I'm considered an LOA, but I do all the pretty graphics and get us organized so we can do these kinds of things. And I consider myself marketing and event coordinator. I'd never had a real office job until I started here, and I've just taken everything I know from being obsessed with Facebook to apply it in a business world, while I'm also trying to get a bachelor's in business as well.
Yeah, she's done amazing things. I go on after hours and see all these great posts that I did, but it's not really me, it's her. So it works out really good, really good. So, Rick, do you want to unmute and let us know who you are, what you're doing?
Hello, everybody. I'm Rick VML. My wife and I have our real estate investments. We are new real estate investors. We've had a couple of homes that we've done on our own. Each time that we've worked on our homes, we've done improvements too. We really like doing that kind of work. But I'm getting closer to retirement, and we were kind of looking at it and going, my state retirement plus my Social Security and her Social Security, it only gives us about 80% of what we're doing now. So that's not enough. We don't want to take a 20 to 25% pay cut just to retire. So we said, okay, what can we do? And we're going, yeah. It was too easy to say we want to do real estate, because we did have the house that we're in right now, we did put up as a rental for a short amount of time, and it actually worked out quite well. It wasn't a huge cash flow. And, my realtor, when we ended up selling our house in Grapeview, she said, "Oh, you did such a good deal." I'm going, "No, not really, because all it did was that we had that house out there on the lake for $500 a month for the last few years." And then I ran some additional numbers, and I took a look at what we got in appreciation on this house, plus our loan pay down on this house. And all of a sudden we're going, oh, we did much better than we thought. So that really set my wife and I's heart on fire. And so it was probably about September last year, we really focused on education. And, we took a look at anything and everything that dealt with real estate education. We looked at several of the Facebook gurus out there. We looked at Meet Kevin, which I kind of like him. He's a little goofy, but yeah, I still didn't buy his course though. But then he mentioned something about how bigger pockets, has some things wrong. And I said, okay, well, who's this Bigger Pockets people? And so I looked them up, and I'm going, wow, look at all of this education that I get for free. So, so we just deep dive way down into it. We probably have picked up now 10 different real estate investment books, anywhere from estimating your rehab projects to the BRRRR model to just about everything in there. But we found that what we really seem to like and gravitate towards is BRRRR, because we're able to build in some additional equity into our home. We get to do a little fun work at the same time, although I'm trying really hard not to do too much of the work, because it's less expensive to actually have somebody else do it. except for right now, because nobody's working.
I did have one of my borrowers who was a newer borrower, and they really wanted to do their own work for a period of time. And I tried to convince them, don't do that. And the issue, when it was all said and done, I completed a refinance to take them off the hard money at 12 months. They had 12 months on hard money that they were doing all that carrying cost, that if they had a contractor could have had them had it completed in probably 3 weeks to a month and a half. So
yeah. So well, and that's why we wanted to use contractors, and we started lining them up. But now we're on this lockdown, so it's like we're not making any progress. So I started doing some of the work myself. I did. In the middle of doing the bathroom myself. I was able to find somebody to do part of the floor for me. So that's good. So we're making progress, because 7 months is what we've got our hard money for, and that goes by quick if nobody's doing anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Just hope that they open up the state at this point,
Yeah.
All right, so good BRRRR model. Dennis and Carrie, do you guys want to unmute and tell us what you do and what you're hoping to do?
Well, we're retired. Don't know what we're hoping to do. Trying to find maybe a niche in here. Got a little. I don't have any background in actually doing anything. I've been to a couple of seminar type things and seen what goes on. A lot of fear going on. I don't know what this is all about. I'm not an LLC or anything like that. I don't know how I would go about doing that. Don't know where I would fit in as doing something. It's kind of I'm kind of like where Rick is retirement, not quite covering everything. And so it's like, what do you do? Do you want to invest? Do you want to, or do you just want to just kind of hopefully the market will do okay? As we know, that goes up and down, and we can go every which way on that one. So, and my wife, she's retired with me, so we're just kind of we traveled a little bit around the country this last fall, and then we came down to, we're in Arizona right now. We came down here for vacation, and then we got stuck down here because you guys got quarantined, so we're not coming back. And you guys are all cool. So
we were one of the first.
Yeah. So basically, that's where we're at. So I'm I don't want to do the work, but I would like to be involved in some way in these real estate transactions.
Yeah, possibly like
Go ahead.
investing the money for the makeovers or something for the. Yeah.
Have you spent much time on Bigger Pockets at all?
First time I heard about it was today.
Okay. What I would do is encourage you to go to Bigger Pockets, and that it's the nation's largest real estate investment forum. And virtually any question you could think of, somebody's been there, they've done that, they'll answer the questions. I go on Bigger Pockets and I answer lending questions because that's my expertise. I don't attempt to answer other questions because it's just not my cup of tea, and I don't want to give some bad advice outside of lending. Lending I can do. Go on there. There's a lot of different techniques and methods that somebody would use, and just kind of get a feel for what you think might work for you guys. And just spend some time doing some research. And then at some point, you got to get to a point where you quit doing the research and you pull the trigger. Because if you don't ever pull the trigger, you know, and I know that's the scary part, but if you get enough base research, if you talk to enough people, like people in this group that have been there, done that, and they've got the experience, they can guide you through and at least steer you away from problem areas. And so what I will say, generally speaking, is rents on properties, generally speaking, don't go backwards. Rents, they may stagnate for a period of time, but if they're not stagnant, then they're inching up. So as somebody who might hold rentals, all in all, that's a fairly stable type of thing if you do a good job of screening your tenants and that kind of thing. The only other thing I can say is if you're going to have rentals, you need to have 6 to 10 months, maybe even 12 months worth of reserve for the rental, because, you know, all of a sudden the hot water heater goes out, or a roof springs a leak, or whatever. So you've got to have some good reserves if you're going to have a rental. But you can grow your appreciation in rentals, and you're also going to have monthly cash flow that will help you along the way, and you're going to have increases on that cash flow as the rents go up over time. So I would just encourage you. Bigger Pockets is an incredible place to get a lot of good knowledge. Spend some time there and it'll help you.
So do you guys flip? Or, I mean, what is your end goal? What's the purpose of this? Are you trying to create a group to do certain things for you, or for as a group, or are you just trying to encourage? Or
it's as a whole. I'm a lender, so me being a lender, I provide loans for all the different kinds of loans. So I provide hard money. Corey's going to talk about that here in a minute. And then so I provide hard money, fix and flip loans, and then I also provide all the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and government loans and that kind of thing. But it's not about me. This group isn't about me. This group is about the group, because there's a lot of different people doing different things. And so this is kind of that support group where people can get different knowledge from various different people. And there's a lot of different techniques. There's a lot of different ways to do deals. And this is where people can learn and come together with like-minded people so that we can talk out and work through some deals. So
I see it more as like a mentorship where we all are learning from each other in that style, because mentoring can be more useful than reading anything.
agreed.
definitely.
Definitely.
Crystal, do
I like
you want
that.
to talk about what you guys do?
Sure. And just to throw another Bigger Pockets out there, that's how I met Kevin. So and kind of we have been flipping houses now for about 2 years. I'm also a licensed real estate agent. I got my license a little over a year ago. And it was, you know, housing is actually still going okay as far as the sales and stuff. But we are kind of slowing things down a little bit. You know, we were buying 1 to 2, sometimes 3 houses a month and trying to flip them trying to get them done in about 45 days and back on the market. And so we have 3 houses right now. One of them, we just went mutual yesterday. And then we have 2 more that need to be fixed up and put back on the market. And unless a really, really great deal comes across that we just can't pass up, we are gonna just slow things down right now for a little while. we don't know what how long that is or what that's going to look like. But our bigger plan before everything slowed down was once we had flipped enough houses and started to build up some capital, taking some of that money and putting it into buy and hold properties, either through the BRRRR method or finding them just that were ready to rent out, but that were a good enough price. So, I mean, we're still planning on doing that. It's just, we kind of want to see what happens. There's a lot of unknown and uncertainty right now. And so we're not trying to buy in too much to the fear, but also just trying to be cautious a little bit and just kind of see how things kind of play out in the next few weeks. And as an agent, I'm really watching houses and how fast they're selling and things like that. But the good news is they're still selling. There's tons of buyers still. The last 2 houses I put on the market, both were in contract within 4 days.
Wow.
So yeah, and one of them is out in Seabeck, Washington, which is kind of out in the sticks. So surprising that we got it under contract so quickly. I don't know, does that kind of what you were looking for, Kevin?
Yeah. And so what's the geographical area that you guys tend to work in?
Well, we were kind of in the Puyallup, Tacoma, Parkland, Pierce County areas, and we recently, the last, 3 or 4 months, we've kind of gone out to Gig Harbor and the peninsula area, hence the one out in Seabeck.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, so we like that area a lot. It's a beautiful drive out there. I don't mind the drive. There's been no traffic lately, so that's kind of nice.
Yeah. So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Have you seen much in the way of change on the hard money side, on the lending side for you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It's been, so on the ones that we've done, they are basically asking for, well, I'll start with a lot of the lenders have hard money have just stopped lending, said, nope, we're not giving out any more loans. So we've heard that. We've had to pay twice the down payment we were originally planning on. So instead of 10%, it was 20% down. The interest rate's gone from 10% to 12% or, whatever. So yeah, that's been a little bit of a challenge. So that's also part of it too, is kind of they're pulling, tightening their reins. And, we're fairly new in the flipping investing world, 2 years under our belt, and we've been pretty successful. It's a really hot market as long as you can find the good deals. But when you start to see the lenders pulling back, it was a little bit like, okay, well, we need to be thinking a little bit more conservatively right now, maybe too.
Yeah. With regards to that, how many flips do you think you guys have done in the last couple of years?
I actually was just trying to look at that the other day.
25, 30?
Maybe about 20.
20. Okay.
Maybe just under.
Well, you count all the ones that I did that weren't online.
Mm-hmm.
How are you guys locating your deal? Are you getting much in the way from wholesalers, or is it listed, or how does that end of things work?
Yeah, so we do get some through the MLS as an agent. I can buy them on that side, and sometimes they're on there. We've gotten some REO properties off the MLS for good deal enough to flip it and make a profit. We also are partnered with Vestas, who will buy the courthouse, and so we meet with them on Thursdays. Well, not right now, but when it was going, that was another way that we would get houses, with meeting with them. And then we've started to connect with some wholesalers. So far, I don't think we've done any deals with a wholesaler yet. We've gotten close, but it just didn't work out.
Yeah. I think wholesaling is a tough deal. It's
Mhm.
for somebody to truly do it and do a good job of it. It's they've just got to. It's a full-time job, and they've got to commit to it, and it's they've got to understand what a good deal is versus what a good deal isn't. And so the average wholesaler struggles, is what I see. But Vestas, if anybody's interested, Vestas is a group that when a home is going to foreclosure and it's going to be sold at the courthouse steps, Vestas will review all the foreclosures and they'll point their investors towards the better deals. And so they vet all the deals out, and they can help you find a deal if you're out in the market looking for a deal. So great, thank you. That was good information, Crystal. Hey, Corey, are you still with us? I don't know if Corey's with us. His video went dark, but anyway.
Crystal.
Oh, go ahead,
Yeah.
Caitlin.
Sorry, Crystal, if you would like to get your information in the directory, could you put that in the chat? And that goes for anybody else that would like to have this in the directory as a resource for other avenues. Then go ahead and put that in the chat and I will have that sent out by Friday.
Yes.
Shane, tell us about HomeBot.
Oh God. Thanks, Kevin, for letting me jump into this meeting here. Hey guys, I'm Shane. I'm actually an LO too. I am a part-time LO for American Pacific Mortgage out of Northern California, but I sort of hung my hat up. I spent 20 years as in startup technology companies doing strategic alliance and partner development. And my background in marketing, I use a tool called HomeBot. And some of you may have heard of it, some of you may not have heard of it. What it is we empower homeowners to make better financial decisions around the life cycle of home ownership. What we provide is loan officers the ability to send monthly digest to their homeowners and borrowers. And within that digest from a homeowner's perspective, you will receive information about your mortgage, information about the valuation of your home, the equity, and then we provide a lot of knowledge base and education for our homeowners to make better decisions around the equity in their home. For instances, building a slush fund for a later date, paying off credit cards, buying another home, things of that nature. What we try to do is we try to empower those homeowners to come and engage with their real estate agents and loan officers on questions about purchasing and financing the home. So that's my shtick. But it's a really, really cool tool. And I left being a loan originator, and for somebody that does loan originations, for somebody to walk away from being a loan originator, I made the transition back into technology because of all the technology I use in mortgages. This is the next thing to slice bread, period.
I told you and I will be talking a bit more about this. So, did you say that you work for American Pacific Mortgage?
What?
Did you say that you work for American Pacific Mortgage?
I do. I've had a short but lustrous career. I've worked for Caliber, Guaranteed Rate, and now I work for a DBA for American Pacific Mortgage here in Northern California.
Gosh, I worked for them years ago. They were a pretty good company back then. And then I took a hiatus. I was an insurance agent for 5 years and thought to myself, boy, I need to get back to the mortgage industry. I need the creativity that comes with the mortgage industry. So, yeah, but I was with American Pacific Mortgage at that time, and that was probably 8 or 9 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, somewhere in there.
Yeah, there's a lot of change there. They're out of the companies I've worked for. I really enjoyed that. But like you said, I think it was to Serena, right? It's all about the structure. I spent almost a year never touching an application, of reading guidelines and just structuring deals for my loan officer mentor until I could come to him and say, this is how it needs to be structured. But that's the creativity part of it, right? That's the fun part.
Yeah, there's always guaranteed I'm going through a loan and there's going to be something that I need to address and do it in a certain way. And maybe I got to look up a guideline. It's just, it's a rare instance when I'm setting up a loan and it's just perfectly smooth all the way through. You know, there's always bumps in the road, but Corey, could you tell us what's happening on the hard money front? Get us up to speed.
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you guys for having me on, and thank you, Kevin, for letting me know about your call. And I apologize. I might have to jump off in about like 15 minutes because it's still kind of daytime here in Hawaii. I'm in Hawaii, so still crazy. I'm dealing with the craziness. So, sorry. Did you want me to go into hard money or talk about?
Yeah. What kind of hard money's out there? Crystal is going to want to know, and Rick's going to want to know what kind of hard money can we do, and then you guys would get to Corey's hard money through me. But what are some of the terms that are available out there?
Sure. Well, it's definitely changed. It's a new world since maybe about a month ago, right? And largely because a lot of these big companies, these big hard money lenders were tied to the capital markets. And as soon as the market started to dry up, all the liquidity started to dry up, some of these big lenders started to get margin calls on their lines, and some of them won't come back. That's just they're over leveraged, and then now it's, we're dealing with the fallout. So before, when you were backed by a large hedge fund or Wall Street, you're the big dog in the house. And now it's kind of the opposite. The funds that were really sitting on private capital, those are the ones that are kind of surviving and thriving right now, it seems. So our company is Keiko Capital, and we're a part of the National Private Lenders Association, which many of the people in that room are either CEOs or presidents of large hard money funds. And the NPLA was formed initially to deal with legislation and kind of lobby for our space as investors. I'm an investor as well. Me and my business partner flip houses and develop ground up construction in Hawaii, Seattle, and Las Vegas. And so for us, we see both sides. I come from the investor perspective as well. I know kind of the headaches that we deal with sometimes when applying for hard money loans. And so when we were initially asked to be a founding member in the NPLA, I had to ask them, how come, why us? We're a new fund. And it was because we come from the borrower perspective. We're a young team. And so then it made sense, and I have a lot of respect for them inviting us because they want to know what the market and us, like the consumers, us as investors, what are we looking for? So we have a direct pulse on the market and the clients that we serve because we are clients. I have millions of dollars of hard money, loans and debt to my name. And so we know the struggles that we go through in trying to close a deal and the weight that we carry when we sign on that line to, take in some of these loans, which a lot of them are high interest, full recourse. So recently, everything's changed. Before, we could get high leverage and low rates. And ever since kind of a month ago, it's changed because Wall Street kind of took an exit. And they're still coming back. They're slowly coming back, some of the big funds. But what we're seeing is like LTVs dropping about 10%. So if people were cutting loans at 75% LTV, they're roughly at 60 to 65 now. Before you could get 90% of the purchase price, 100% of the renovation budget. And now you're roughly anywhere from 70 even 65 I've seen, 65% of the purchase, all the way up to 85. There's still some lenders out there doing 85%, including us, and 100% of the renovation budget. But the cost before could range anywhere from like low 8%. Those days are gone for now. Roughly the floor I've seen is right around 10% for highly experienced investors, and 2 to 4 points, and that's if you have experience. So now for most of the hard money lenders out there, they're not cutting loans. If you are a new you're a new investor and have no experience or have no track record. So that's a little unfortunate, but I assume everyone on this call we're at heart entrepreneurs, and real estate is kind of what we do as entrepreneurs right now. And with the entrepreneur spirit, it's it's all paper walls, and so to kind of, if I was a new investor, kind of to fight that, if it means closing a deal or not closing a deal, if you have a really good deal in your hands, I would say, reach out to someone who has experience, and you can ride, their credit and take them as a credit partner and use their experience. You might have to give up some equity in the deal, but if that means that you get to close the deal and get to make something, hopefully it has to be worth it, right? And it has to be worth the person who's going to sign on as guarantor for you as well. But that's an option, and that's an option that a lot of new investors who are coming to us or other people are doing to still close deals, but now leveraging other people's experience and track record. So that's still an option. Just because you're a new investor doesn't mean you can't get a good sized loan. But that's kind of roughly where the market is. Unfortunately, the credit boxes for a lot of the lenders have tightened up a lot. And if anything, that's actually, we always have to find the good in things, and that might be good for us, because then as investors, we can now take a step back and assess the risk. Because if we were leveraged highly, back in like a month ago, and we get stuck in properties that are quickly, losing value if the market goes that way. Hopefully it doesn't. And it's great to hear that, Crystal, there's still action going on. And I see that still here in Hawaii. There's still, the retail side hasn't felt it yet in the markets that we're in. And does it mean that, we're about to see a crash? Who knows? This has never happened before. But it's best to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. And it's better to be proactive than reactive in times like this. And so with the new credit boxes tightening up, it makes us as investors we have to look across the table, look at our deals, and make sure that the deals that we're getting into, we're looking at it as in the macro sense, where if you're pulling ARVs using comps, recent comps, which is what we usually did, now maybe we might have to take, a few percentage off of the ARV and assume longer holding times. Because even though our space, we didn't used to really consider what the conventional banks are doing, now more than ever, we do have to pay attention to that. We do have to pay attention to other kind of indicators that surround real estate. And if Chase Bank and Wells Fargo, they're tightening up all their limits, then we have to know that the buyers, retail buyers who are gonna, if you're flipping the house, they're gonna have a little bit harder times to qualify for conventional mortgages to buy the house. So with that in mind, thinking about, okay, what's my non-conforming limits in my market? Like here in Hawaii, it's anywhere from $721,000 to $767,000. So if my ARV now, since we're kind of in a different space than we were now, or a month ago. We have to consider now, if my ARV is over the jumbo limit, then, you know, we have to assume we're going to have a harder time exiting that property if we're going to buy, fix, and sell. So
Right.
how do we factor that into our deal? You know, we add a longer holding time, and we lower the ARV, because when you're about to exit the property and exit the deal, if you're going to be, your comps might change in the next, you know, few months. And if it doesn't, then great, you know, then it's just bonus, right? But now more than ever, I think it's important that we go into deals with, you know, instant appreciation. And when I say instant appreciation, there's three types of appreciation, right? It's instant appreciation, forced appreciation, and market appreciation. And instant appreciation is what we always want. We want to buy it with instant equity, and then forced appreciation is, you know, renovating the property, repositioning the property. And then if we get market appreciation, then that's just icing on the cake, but we never rely on market appreciation, right? So now more than ever, buying with instant appreciation is so much more important, especially in times of volatility like we are facing now. So when it comes to hard money, it's definitely we're back. I started real estate in about end of 2011. So I caught like the tail end of the last crash and the mortgage crisis that we had. And we've been riding up ever since, you know, so we're about to, you know, I always tell people, you know, even though I'm seasoned, you know, I'm heavily vested in real estate in all aspects. It's still a new world for me, you know, and I'm excited because there will be opportunity, and opportunity never disappears. It just moves. So we want to be, you know, the smart people in the room to move where the opportunity lies. And to do that, we just have to really, in times like these, take a step back and look at everything going on and try to make our best calculated guesses into, you know, what we're going to be facing in the next few months, which
let me ask you a few
great.
questions, if you don't mind.
Know. Yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
Okay, so just to kind of narrow this down for everybody, the down payment range that you're in is anywhere from 15% to sounds like 35%, depending on the deal, depending on the amount of experience of the borrower. And interest rates are also going to be set based on that. And then not only are interest rates going to be set based on that, but it's also based on credit score. Even 2 months ago, it wasn't really so much credit score driven, but now it's a bit more credit score driven. Do I have that correct?
Yeah, so that's absolutely correct. And so some lenders have, when they're primarily asset-based, they now are taking credit into consideration, credit scores. Usually they always require to pull credit anyways, but before, even if you had like a 500 something credit score, they would take you as long as the deal was really good, you know, and you'd pay more for that. But today they won't even look at anything. Our limits are right around 640 still. So if as long as you're 640 and up, you're good to go. Some lenders won't look at anything below 700 right now, a credit score of 700.
That's the Chases of the world, but on the hard money side of things, yeah, that's craziness. Right. So let me ask you, do you guys allow any seller carrybacks?
That would be deal specific for sure.
Okay.
And it depends whether or not the seller is going to remain on title, you know, and how that deal is structured. I would say not to rely on that. I would say bank on the deal, you know, not being able to carry back for the seller, having seller carry back.
I know some hard money allow seller carrybacks. The reason that somebody might want to do a seller carryback would be, let's say that I've got a borrower that only has 15 or 20% and the lender's requiring 35%. Well, if you could get the seller to agree to carry back the other, say 15% as a second mortgage behind the new first mortgage hard money lender, then in a case like that, the hard money lender might be willing to do that because they're at the proper loan to values that they want to be, and the seller's just in second mortgage position, carrying back 15%, and then the buyer brought in the other 10, 15, 20%, whatever the difference is. So, and then what you were talking about with jumbos, Crystal probably runs into that a bit more than I do. I'm a bit rural, so I don't get the higher prices, but and definitely you have it in Hawaii. So jumbo means that there's conventional loan limits in each county in all states. And by conventional, I mean these are your Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac loan limits, and anything over that loan limit is considered jumbo. The reason jumbo is kind of a problem right now is a lot of the jumbo industry pulled back, and there's still some lenders out there doing jumbo loans, but it's a lot fewer. They're a lot more concerned about the credit score. They're concerned about the debt ratios. So jumbos can definitely be problematic at this point. And one of the things that Corey wants to hear from a guy like me when I bring him a deal is he wants to hear what's the exit strategy. So in most cases, you might get a flip and the answer is, okay, I'm going to flip it. Well, flip is one exit strategy. There's actually another exit strategy. You could BRRRR model it, and you can refinance it in the end and hold it as a rental property. Hard money, generally speaking, wants to have a guy like me doing the refinance when it's all said and done to take it out, because that at least gives them two exits. They can potentially refinance it. If the refinance doesn't work, then they can sell it. So that's where guys like me work very, very hand in hand with the hard monies, because that gives them more opportunity to make sure that the deal is going to work, especially in times like this. I mean, up until COVID kind of took over, things were moving very, very well, as Crystal had said. But now that COVID's taken over, the question is, where are we going? And I can tell you more about that later, but I don't want to bore you guys to death on that stuff. So, well, thank you, Corey. And Kevin Van Egdom, can you talk to us about what you do?
Yeah, I'll keep this short and sweet because nobody likes to talk to the insurance agent. I have an Allstate agency I opened up a little over a year ago. I've been in insurance for about 10 years. That's where I actually met Kevin with Country Financial. I do all lines of insurance, minus the health insurance. And just please feel free to use me as a resource for any insurance-related questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So landlord policies, you have a number of those that are available, I assume.
Yeah, absolutely. We do landlord policies. We can do up to 4 landlord policies at a time through Allstate. I do have some brokerage companies if you go over that, or if it doesn't fit in Allstate's appetite as well, that I can look into to hopefully help you out.
How about umbrella policies? And when you guys, let's say that an investor holds property like in an LLC, can you still write that as personal lines, or is that commercial?
I can do it as personal lines as long as the owners of the LLC are just the individual person or the individual and their spouse. Otherwise, we need to start looking at commercial policies for that. If you do have a lot of investment properties, I do highly recommend an umbrella policy, just because your net worth is higher and you have more at risk to lose.
Well, an average umbrella policy is fairly inexpensive, I would assume.
Yeah, anywhere, just depends how many properties you have, how many vehicles you have. Anywhere between $200 a year and $500 a year, depending on what you have.
Okay. Well, we'd love to do some business with you. And honestly, on the insurance side of the world, I met Kevin because I took a hiatus from the mortgage industry. I had been in the mortgage, well, I'm in it now, I guess, 23 years, but I was an insurance agent with Country and with Kevin for about 5 years before I came back to the mortgage industry. And I'll tell you, the insurance industry, there's a lot of details that go into that. And if you got to get with a person that really kind of knows that end of the business to make sure that you're covered properly and you're handling all your business based on the proper policies and the proper setups. So a good agent can save you a lot of money. And I'll tell you, the most common misconception that I hear out there all the time, and I used to do a lot of talking on this when I was an agent, is that people will set up an LLC and they think, okay, I'm going to set up an LLC and I'll be protected. They can't get to me on a personal level if I got this LLC. And the answer to that is no, that's not true. An LLC can be pierced, especially when it comes to real estate investors. Let's say that you manage your own property. Let's say that you do some of your own repairs. Those kinds of things, if you do those kinds of things, attorneys can pierce the veil and they can get to you on a personal level. So what's the real protection? The real protection is an umbrella policy. And if I remember right, doesn't the umbrella policy also pay for your cost of defense on any lawsuit?
Yes, it does. And you can get different levels of the umbrella policy, from $1 million to $2 million to $4 million. So it's really dependent on the person and what they have and what they're protecting. You really want to just make sure you have your net worth protected at a minimum.
Absolutely. Well, good. Appreciate you showing up here, Kevin. And so Julia, I see that you popped on just after we got started. Do you want to tell us about you?
Hi.
Hey.
So I'm Julia Silva, and I'm located here in Lacey, Washington. And we actually own All City Cleaning and Restoration Services. And so we offer all kinds of services for, of course, getting them houses ready for sale. And so that's what we do here.
Fantastic. How long have you guys been around?
13 years.
So got a little bit of time under your belt.
Yes, been doing a long time.
Do you do a lot of work for the real estate investment crowd?
Yeah, a lot of property managers and real estate agents, they call us, especially for the worst ones, because we believe in making whatever we clean look brand new again, no matter how bad it is. So we get a lot of those types of calls.
Do you guys do what is called trash outs? Are you familiar with those?
Oh, I am. I don't get too many calls occasionally, but that would be great, an extra service to offer. We just do that occasionally when people leave their stuff behind. But
yeah, you get foreclosed houses, and you just never know what somebody's going to leave in this house. And
yes,
and it's that, I'm telling you, anybody that does that work is really working.
Yeah. Yes.
Have you thought about investing yourself?
I have actually. That's what I want to start doing, is buying properties and using them as investment properties, definitely.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
Meet Crystal. Crystal can definitely help you with those.
Hi.
And HomeBot. So yeah, love to have everybody. And just a reminder for everybody, if you could put your information into the chat, we're going to create a directory so that as we grow the group and that kind of thing, we're going to have not only the individual contacts in the directory, but eventually we're going to also gather additional information for recommendation. Like if you're looking for a contractor or you're looking for a plumber or electrician, who does everybody recommend? And so that way we get the collective knowledge of the group through in that directory and have it be something of value to everybody. So Miss Kim, how are you? Are you going to talk to me about your flipping? Oh, Kim disappeared. Oh, no, there you are. Your microphone's muted.
There we go.
All right.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good, Kevin. Thanks for doing this. I'm really glad that we have a new group to network with. And I've been educating and investing since 2014. My husband Scott and I have, and I've done some wholesaling in the past, and currently I'm looking for my first flip property. And so I've done a lot of training and education and working with some pretty high level flippers right now. And so I feel like I have a lot of knowledge, but I'm having, a little bit difficulty. I did really well with wholesaling and some wholetailing and had some really good success with that, but wanted to move more into the flipping. And so it's gotten a little bit more difficult to find the really good deals. So just working with that. I've had a bit of a dry spell, but I'm getting really close to my first flip here. I can feel it. So.
Hey, tell them about that wholetailing story there.
Yeah, that was 2018, I think. I was doing some direct mail marketing back then, and that particular, it was really interesting how that seller and I connected, because I mailed postcards, and it didn't go directly to her. It went to someone in her neighborhood that gave it to her neighbor that took it to her. And that's how I got the call from that seller. And she was just extremely highly motivated, and I was able to negotiate an incredibly good deal on that property. She had some foundation issues, and I had gotten some experts in there to look at the foundation, and I just was able to negotiate an incredible price with her, and I cleaned the property up and just cleaned it up and then put it right back up on the market. We did very little. I think we carpeted one room upstairs. We put in some smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. Did a small deck on the back. I mean, we had a lot of the trash out. That was the first step, of course. So we cleaned it up, cleaned up the roof and everything, turned around, put it on the market, and it was a phenomenal deal for us. And so that got me real excited about having another option, not having to do a full out rehab, but just doing the real cosmetic, just basically we just cleaned it up. And we had 5 or 6 offers within 3 days on it, and they were all over list. So it was just a really, really good deal for us. And I think that sometimes when you have those really, really good deals happen early on, it's a bit of a curse, because then you kind of think, well, this is pretty cool. This is easy, this is a home run. Well, it was a home run for us, but you don't get home runs every time you go up to bat. So, I just know that they're out there, and, it'll happen again and again, but it's not going to happen every single time. But it just, I had some really good wholesale deals, had that good wholesale experience, but now I'm ready to do some flipping, and I'm working with a really good guy that's done over 1,100 flips, and just learning really deep dive and high level stuff from him. I just need to, finding the motivated sellers right now is been challenging. I'm doing some PPC marketing right now. And I haven't been in it long enough to really tell how it's going to perform for me. But I've had to shut it down a couple of times because I was in Europe for a while and then COVID hit. So it's been kind of off and on a couple of times. So now I'm ready to turn it back on and just let it go and see how that does for me for a while here. So
what kind of PPC, for anybody that's here, PPC is pay-per-click. So do you do it mostly through Google and or are there other places that you do that?
Yeah, Google ads. And I just had a really good friend who had done some, I don't have anybody do it for me. I had someone train me how to do it, and I barely know just enough to do it the right way. But it's pretty expensive form of marketing, especially if you have a service, providing that service for you. But it was a good option for me because it was offered to me as part of a group I was with. And so I had some good, I had responses from it quite a bit, but I had to turn it off because I had to go to, I barely made it back from Spain before the whole thing hit.
Yeah, that would have been bad. Scott would have been lonely.
So, right.
Oh.
So I turned it off for a while I was there, and then it wasn't like a week later that, Corona hit. So I've kind of turned it off again right now because I really didn't want to, go through people's homes right now. I don't want strangers coming through my home right now,
Right.
But the MLS deals have not proven to work well for me with my numbers.
Right.
So I'm, working. I've done a lot in the direct mail arena, but I wanted to try some other things. So I'm getting a little experience in all the different marketing avenues.
So let me
I'm
ask
super.
let me ask you, what do you think that the range on profits on a flip would look like, or where do you want to be on that?
For me, as far as I'm looking at a pretty good net profit of of nothing under 30,000. I just don't want to get involved in flips for months on end and not have it,
Right.
I can decide once I have a property, I can decide whether I want to wholesale it or flip it or, burr it or wholesale it. It's like I get the property and then I decide what I want to do with it. And then if I have two properties at the same time or three at the same time, like I did before, then you just decide what the best exit strategy is for that.
Right.
But I'm looking for a pretty good return on the flips.
How about you, Crystal? What do you think? If you were advising people, where do you think that profit margin needs to be at?
Want me to take that?
Damien's here. You want to join?
Yeah, Damien. Bring him in.
Yeah. He's the numbers guy.
So,
Damien.
Hi guys, I'm Damien. The other half of the scenario. So when I do my numbers on a property, I usually equate out to, if I'm going to be, I equate it to how long it's going to take me to work it. So how long is the job going to be under construction? So when you do a project, you're going to sit on it for a minimum 30 to 45 days once it's listed.
Right.
So, just because to get it on the market and then to get someone to buy it. So you got to equate, those are separate. Those are just other days. But if I'm looking at a project and it's going to take me 30 days in construction to do, then I set my basis at 20 grand. So 20 grand for every 30 days. And so if I look at a project, it's a bigger project with, more square footage, and I'm going to be in it for 2 months of construction. then I do my math so that I make $40,000. If it doesn't equate up to that, then I move on. But you can get into these smaller projects that are more or less lipstick on a pig, throw some paint on it, throw some carpet in there, and call it a day. And as long as you're in and out of there in 30 days, or even if it's only a 3-week project and you're going to make 15 grand on it, it's a good deal. But that's kind of how we do, how I run my. And then I run a percentage base, so I do my numbers backwards on things. And so what I would do is I'll take the resale value of a home. Say, let's for easy sake, let's say resale is 300,000. Then I would minus 10.5%, and then those 10.5% is like my hard money origination fees, my excise taxes, my 5% for paying real estate agents to list the property. So you're 2.5 and 2.5. But 10.5 is my number that I use, and it also is kind of a padded number to compensate for monthly payments on your interest payments on hard money. And then, so say 10.5%, it's roughly $30,000. I'm looking at 270 right now. Then I would say I want to make it's a 30-day project, so I want to make 20 grand. So then I would go, okay, the max I'm willing to. So then I'm at 250, right? And then maybe it's a $20,000 in fix up. So then you back your numbers back again, and you go, okay, the max I'm willing to bid or pay for this property is $230,000. And then you work your numbers back up that way. Now that's just an equation that's worked for me, and it's worked for a couple other guys that I've kind of recommended it to. But I think everyone kind of, after your first 1 or 2 or 3, you start to make adjustments to figure out what's going to work best for you. But it's just a matter of starting out with the resale. And for us, since the market has done what it's been doing, instead of properties that I valued at 400,000, 3 months ago or 4 months ago, as resale value, I'm looking at them and I'm going, I think they're 360. And then I do my math backwards on that. Now I'm just being extra cautious because, if I buy a property today, I'm selling it in 3 months from now market, not today's market. And so tomorrow, 3 months from now's market, the way things are looking, it's probably not going to be great, or not going to be as good. So, as long as you compensate for that, you can protect yourself quite a bit. Getting educated in flipping properties. A lot of people will look at it like it's gambling, but you get good enough at it and you start to understand the numbers more. It's more like just going to work. Just you go to work and you do 8 hours and you get paid. And you can get your investing to that very similar kind of mindset, in my opinion. So, just getting educated in it.
So if you had a flipper that was kind of just starting out and maybe they're on pace for 2, maybe 3 a year, what do you think 2 or 3 should show off or should throw off in terms of income and keep them safe? What does that look like?
Like 1 every 4 months or so, 1 every 3 to 4 months.
Because they're probably not going to be as fast at doing them, turning them as you guys are.
Right.
But what kind of income could they expect on, say, 2 or 3 deals in a year, and what's kind of a safer level of income that they need to make just to make sure that they're getting deals at the right level?
I guess it really matters. So if you're looking at doing, of course, everything's a variable, but if you're really looking at doing like 1 to 3 houses a year, set your goals kind of low. I mean, it seems low, but set your goals at saying, okay, I want to make 10 grand a month on this house. Now it sounds like a lot of money, but it really isn't when you start to equate the variables that can happen with a home, like different inspections or things that pop up. It sounds like a lot of money. I don't know exactly how to answer that again.
Well, I think you did a good job targeting 10,000 a month. I mean, you can, that's 120 grand, and if you were doing 3, so that's 40 grand a pop.
Yeah, so. Exactly. I mean, I think it's possible. You know, of course, you know, when we first started out, our first project we bought, it was a $200,000 home. We put about $27,000 into it, and then we sold it for about 300. Now, in the grand scheme of things, you think the numbers are really big. You think, okay, you know, that looks like a profit of $73,000. But realistically, after all said and done, it was more like a profit of around $25,000 because of the you know. But again, it's equating the 10.5%, your loan costs, your real estate agent fees, your excise taxes, which take up quite a bit of your profit. So, you know, my recommendation is to really sit down and look at the percentages of what it's going to cost you to get money and to spend that money, and then kind of work backwards. But, you know, I think it's reasonable that someone, you know, with very little construction skills, but real good skills at just trying to locate contractors and talk to people, to kind of set a goal at making 20 grand on your first house. I don't think it's an unreasonable amount of money at all. Mostly if you're talking in the range of a first-time home buyer, $200,000 to $300,000 home. Yeah, well, not $200,000 home, but a purchase of a 200 to 300 and then selling for say 275 to 350. There's also just one caveat, just so everyone understands, when you're doing first-time home flipping, you have to equate that you're going to have to hold on to that home for about 90 days before you can sell it to an FHA buyer.
Right.
Now, most of your first-time home buyers are going to be FHA or VA. That 90-day hold does not account to FHA buyer or VA buyers, but it does go against FHA buyers. So you have to hold the home for 90 days. So there's really no rush. Even if you have a home that you can get done in 30 days, if it's a first-time home buyer in that kind of cheaper round price range, take your time.
Yeah.
You know, do it right and just and milk out that 90 days, because you don't want to not be able to accept an FHA offer. You want to be able to accept all offers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good information. I had that question come up just earlier today. I've got a investor over in Spokane, and he's got a fourplex, and he was thinking that he had a 90-day window, but he's actually just refinancing, so he's not selling it. And so in that case, the flipping rule with FHA doesn't apply. But yeah, it's funny how that information it comes around.